The framing effect. There is a moment when the facts stay the same, but your reaction changes. Nothing new is added. Nothing is taken away. Only the way it is presented shifts. And suddenly, the meaning feels different. This is the framing effect. 1. When presentation becomes persuasion. The framing effect is a psychological bias where people respond differently to the same information depending on how it is described. A choice framed as a gain feels safer. The same choice framed as a loss feels risky. The facts do not change. The frame does. And the mind reacts to the frame as if it were reality itself. 2. Why the brain responds to framing. The human brain does not process information in isolation. It processes meaning. Framing provides context, and context tells the nervous system whether to approach or avoid. Gain frames activate hope. Loss frames activate fear. Both bypass slow reasoning and trigger emotional evaluation first. This is not irrationality. It is efficiency. 3. Loss aversion and emotional weight. One reason framing is so powerful is loss aversion. Psychologically, losses feel heavier than gains. Avoiding loss feels more urgent than acquiring benefit. So when information is framed around what might be lost, the brain tightens. The same outcome can feel acceptable or unacceptable depending on whether it is presented as preserving something or risking its removal. 4. Framing in everyday decisions. The framing effect shapes daily life quietly. In headlines, in medical advice, in financial decisions, in performance feedback, in relationships. 90% success rate feels different than 10% failure rate. Constructive criticism feels different than what you did wrong. The outcome is identical. The experience is not. 5. When frames replace understanding. The danger of the framing effect is not that it influences choice. It is that it replaces evaluation. We respond to emotional cues instead of examining substance. Frames guide attention. They highlight certain aspects while obscuring others. And what is unseen rarely enters judgment. 6. Power, authority, and framing. Framing becomes especially influential when it comes from authority. Experts, institutions, leaders. When power chooses the frame, alternatives feel invisible. Disagreement feels unreasonable, not because it is wrong, but because the frame defines the boundaries of what feels acceptable. 7. Framing and moral judgment. The framing effect shapes morality. Actions framed as necessary are judged differently than the same actions framed as harmful. Intent framed as protection softens accountability. Language becomes moral armor. The frame does not lie, but it directs empathy selectively. 8. Awareness without detachment. Understanding the framing effect does not require emotional distance. It requires awareness. To ask, what is being emphasized? What is being left out? How would this feel if framed differently? Awareness slows reaction and restores agency. 9. Reframing as responsibility. Reframing is not manipulation. It is perspective. Responsibility means choosing frames carefully, especially when communicating with others. Because how we present information shapes how others feel, decide, and act. Clarity is ethical. Precision is respectful. 10. Beyond the frame. The framing effect reveals a quiet truth. The mind reacts to meaning before it evaluates facts. Frames guide judgment, but they do not define truth. This is Ethiax, where psychology meets responsibility. And responsibility begins when we look beyond the frame before deciding what something means.